Chocolate City Candy. Just a taste of you makes my life so complete. Learning to love you is a special treat. The little loving things you do forever makes you honey sweet. Your good and plenty loving just knocks me off my feet. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, my M&M plain, Chocolate City Candy girl. My lifetime lifesaver, Fifth Avenue, Lovers Lane Park. My butted-fingered whatchamacallit, says sweetness in the dark. Now and later, you'll always be my Mary Jane, my baby Ruth, my mounds of almond joy, chocolate honey, sweet tooth. Let me be your payday, sugar daddy galore, your 100 grand, Mr. Goodbar for sure. When you turn on your total Disroe charm, your chocolate cherry kisses make me melt in your arms. You're my sugar baby, peppermint patty pearl, my M&M plain, Chocolate City Candy girl. Hi, I'm Danny Queen, and I'd like to welcome you to Color Me Poetry. I'd like to welcome my most illustrious, beautiful guest, Miss Peggy Disroe.
Good morning,
tell us
Danny.
about yourself. How did you get started in writing? And you're also an actress, I understand. You're very much interested and involved in the stage.
Well, actually, I started writing poetry first when I was in high school during my senior year. After that, I got really interested in, after I saw For Color Girls by Intisaki Shange,
Right.
Now I'm trying to write something like what you call a core poem. It's a series of poetry that tells a story. You have your theatrical background, you have your dancers, your singers, your music. So I'm working on that, but while I'm working on that, I'm performing around the city, different places and locations, and when I'm asked to do what I call jazz poetry. I have a conga player and a trumpet player, Sheldon Wright and Daryl Gross, who accompanied me just the other night at DC Space. WPFW had their annual poetry and jazz benefit, and we did a 20-minute show there, which turned out very nice.
What are some of the other, where are some of the other places that you've performed around?
I've been live on WPFW during John Coltrane's birthday, because I wrote a tribute to John Coltrane. Trumpets, Jazz, and Dinner Club.
Okay.
I did something there on stage with Brother Ah.
Yes, he's well known.
Right. The Navy Yard, Howard University. I had an interview about a month and a half ago on District Cable, Channel 24, with the host, Jean-Claude T. And several churches and different organizations called me to do poetry, do jazz poetry, and different little shows, which I enjoy very much.
You enjoy the arts?
Oh, I love it. I love it, yeah.
What is it about poetry that really attracts you to it? And what type of things do you like to write about? And what is in other words, what is the writing process for you? How does it work for you when you get an idea?
Well, the writing process for me, and the reason why I enjoy it so much is because I don't work hard at it. Some people, they sit down and they try to think of something that they need to write or they should write or someone needs. Every time I write a poem or I write something, the idea just comes to me. Most of my poems I've written, it could be 2 or 3 pages long, and I've sat down and written them in a matter of 2 minutes because they're like thoughts that come flowing through my head, and I immediately write it down.
Is it an emotional response to something sometime, or?
Yeah, sometimes it's experiences, not just for myself, but experiences that I see other people going through my day, and I'll look at it, I'll observe it, and I'll go home and write about it, and sometimes I write about it on the spot.
Sometimes, so it's secondhand experiences sometimes, not always something that you really actually experience yourself.
Yeah, not something that I actually experienced myself. Say, for instance, I was out at a spot, disco spot one night, and I went out to have a good time and to dance and have fun, but all of a sudden I started looking at people and noticing certain things, and instead of listening to the music, I started listening to the movement of people, and I wrote a poem just by what I saw at this night spot, and it was called, if I could do it, Come to the Disco Set. And it goes, come to the disco set, see dudes making bets about who's taking Rochelle home after the set. See who lacks in being Mr. Mac. Cool breeze gliding by says, everybody knows the kid wins on any bid. Lady in tight jeans, shaking like a bag of jelly beans, catches cool breeze gaze as he moves on in the days. Say you, Miss Lady, in the tight blue jeans, where are you going, dressed so fine and clean? Where do you think I'm going, dude? I'm in the disco mood. I'm ready to party. Now get away from me. There are plenty of chicks around, just waiting to be found by Cool Breeze himself. For you, all of them are left. Who are you? And what is your name? Why do you come in here playing these crazy games? Now listen here, con man. Do you understand? I came in here to check out the band. Now why don't you do what you usually do? Walk around with a dip in your hip and a glide in your stride behind the ladies where you always hide. And that's what I saw there that night.
Wow, just observation.
From observation.
That's beautiful. You know, that reminds me of a line my uncle used to always tell me all the time. He said, the players change, but the game remains the same.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah, well, I mean, just observation, you can observe, so you can get so much, I think, from just observation. You don't have to say nothing.
Just watching people,
Sights and
watching sounds and sights and listening to the noise. Just a simple thing as opening your window in the morning early enough to hear the birds.
And I tell you another thing. If you've ever watched people, you know, on the crowded bus, say in a big city, I mean, faces say so many things. Faces say so much, you know.
So much.
People's pain, the anguish, the joy, little kids. You know, there's so much, you know, people, especially in a big city, because people going and coming and going and coming. It's just, you know, sometimes I just watch people and can learn so much and just feel so much.
The expressions say so much because expression changes how many times a day? We don't even know.
It's countless.
It's countless.
It's true. It's very, very beautiful, the piece that you just read for us. I mean, did you have another selection that you'd like to share?
Sure. A lot of times when I start a show, I like to start my show off addressing something to the sisters and ending it with something for the sisters and the brothers. But I used to say, stand up, my beautiful black sister, and move in the direction of that man who has a plan that he believes in and is willing to listen to your ideas that you are willing to give. Stand up, my beautiful black sister, and move in the direction of all children that have a spirit to live by, where there is good for all people.
That's strong. That's strong. That's a strong piece. How'd you get the idea for that?
That one came to me. I was getting ready to have an interview on District Cable 24, and I driving to the television station. I said, how am I going to start this program up? Driving with one hand and writing with the other on the dashboard. That's when I wrote that piece.
That's difficult. That takes skill and dexterity. You didn't hit nobody.
I know I shouldn't be saying that on TV.
No,
that's not a good way to drive.
It's kind of truth.
But I had to write it down.
But inspiration comes that way.
It does.
It does. Sometimes it comes to me when I'm driving. I'm at a stoplight, and I'm saying to myself, I hope this light doesn't turn green now, because I want to get this down before the light changes. The thing about inspiration and obsession, you never really know when it's going to come. You never know. It's like it just hits you.
It hits you, and you got to
and you don't know when it's going to click, and you have to grab it then. Sometimes late at night, early in the morning, it'll hit me and grab me. Sometimes grab me out of the bed, you know, and I have to get up and write this idea down. I may not sit there and actually write the whole thing then, but it will definitely grab me and make me, look, take note of this. This is something that you need to think about putting down on paper. And it works that way sometimes.
Right. It takes a person to have some type of creativity about themselves to understand a writer. I mean, you jump up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, grabbing a pen and pencil and turning on the lights and getting to the typewriter. That takes a little bit of understanding.
And sometimes other people around you don't understand. I mean, you know, if you live with a loved one or my next door neighbor, I know I must drive them crazy, you know, because my neighbors have often said to me, do you sleep at night? You know,
I know.
Things like that.
I know.
But yeah, I've been doing it for such a long time. It's natural for me. And my family don't really understand it. I don't really understand it either sometimes, but it just comes and I deal with it in that way.
I know, because I've been in conversations with people before, and all of a sudden something comes to me. I said, wait. They said, wait, I want to finish it. I said, no, I have this idea. I have to write it now.
Yeah. That's true.
I know
It
that's
happens
probably
that way.
happened to you.
Yeah, and I work with Endeavor and polish it. I may put the whole thing down in maybe an hour, 2, maybe 4 hours, but then I go back for days and polish it. And read to yourself over and over again, because reading is rereading and writing is rewriting. You have to rewrite in order to be a good writer. And you have to sound good to my ear. I mean, not only to my mind, it has to look good on the paper, but it has to sound good to my ear. And if it doesn't sound good to you, it probably won't sound good to other people. So I do that so I can establish the rhythm of the piece.
I just like to write about people, life, experiences, not my own, other people's experiences that they may not even know how to explain the experience that they're going through. And through an artist's eyes, you can look at them, write it down, and then give it to them and say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling.
I've felt that way.
Right. Yeah. And I like to do a poem. It's something called Poetry That Will Last. Give you an example why it's so important that every time you feel something you want to write it, because it could be a message to an old person, a young person, a handicapped person, so you need to write it. And poetry that will last. Poetry that will last. Words that are said with realness, a feeling that is captured within the heart. Poetry the soul can hold for the young and the old. It's poetry that will last.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I think that's the most beautiful thing about poetry. I mean, you never know. It has no age. People still reading Shakespeare, and he's been gone away from here a long time.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Poetry doesn't really have any age. You know, sometimes I hear people listen to music and say, "Oh, well, that's an old song." It doesn't matter how old it is. I enjoyed Duke Ellington, and Lord knows I wasn't here when Duke Ellington was performing, but I love Duke Ellington's music. So it doesn't really. That's one thing about music. It is a universal language, and it doesn't really. It surpasses time in that sense. You know, poetry surpasses time.
Poetry, words, music is words. The way you walk across the floor, to me, is music and it's words. And talking about music, you want to go into, I have a poem that I did something on jazz.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, to me, jazz is. To me, jazz is a feeling, a melody, a beat, rhythm, pounds of notes, floating, suspended, anywhere. There, over here, right here. Feel this beat, this rhythm, explore it. Feel these pounds of notes. Make it and feel this beat. Make it and take it to jazz, jazz, jazz.
That's beautiful. We're going to talk about that. We're going to take a short break right now, and we're going to be right back, and we're going to jump right on that because I want to hear more about that.
Okay.
I'm Danny Queen. We'll be right back. This is Color Me Poetry. Hi, I'm Danny Queen, and welcome back, my most illustrious guest, Miss Peggy Disroe. Let's talk about the last piece you did, To Me Jazz Is, because it's beautiful. Talk about that and the inspiration.
Well, the inspiration actually came from, I've seen a few other people do some jazz pieces about various artists, like Sarah Vaughan, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Charlie Bird Parker. And I started thinking about, I said, well, what does jazz mean to you, Peggy? Where can you get the inspiration? Then I started thinking about listening to the notes, the rhythm, the pounds of notes, light, heavy notes. And I started absorbing that, and I started trying to feel it. And when I started trying to feel it, then I said, okay, where can I take it? That's when I was able to start writing pieces about jazz artists, such as John Coltrane, Sarah Vaughan, Miles Davis, which I've been doing a lot of jazz poetry. Once I made that observation, not strictly from other people, but within my own self, too. I had to bring it all together in a full circle before I could actually write about it.
I think there's a close correlation between jazz, jazz music and poetry, because it's a sense of rhythm. I know Langston Hughes dealt with that. He did a piece called Harlem Blues, where he dealt with the jazz and the rhythm, because it's all about rhythm, and it's all about timing. And I think that's very important in music also, because when an artist sits down to write, I've heard many artists such as Quincy Jones say, when they sit down to write, that's how the music, the melody, and the lyrics sometimes come at the same time. It's a sense of timing. Everybody has a sense of timing. Each piece, I think, has a sense of timing. Do you feel that sense of rhythm when you deal with it?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that a world-known musician told me once that helped me a lot. He says, when you speak, it's music. And you get the rhythm from other people's speaking patterns. Like When you get up in the morning, you say, if you're married, you say, good morning, darling. Or you say, turn the lights on. It's like, dun, 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 or dun, 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 dun. Or it's music, it's rhythm. So all you need to do is listen to people's voices when they're arguing, when they're happy, when someone tells someone they love them. That's how they get a lot of the blues songs, the love songs that say, I love you. Go, you know, and the music, you play the music from people's voices. And he told me that, and that was I was very happy to hear that.
Jazz musicians say that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was Brother Ah who told me that.
Wow, that's beautiful. You know, I read the history and the life story rather of say Louis Satchmo Armstrong, and I understand that he had an IQ of almost 300.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a very high IQ. I understand that a lot of jazz musicians have very high IQs. I don't know if it's something about jazz music in itself that raises the consciousness of people to a higher level, but it's something about jazz and poetry and the music. I think that, I don't know, it's just beautiful. I was just really astounded to learn that about jazz musicians.
I'm not really sure. I could take a guess and think that a lot of times when people are creative, not only in writing but music, there's a sensitivity about that person.
A heightened awareness.
Right, of what's going on around them. They don't just pay attention to what's written in books, but why did the person write what they wrote? And they take on thinking about what was in that person's mind. And a lot of times when you do that, it will increase your intelligence. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
You know, sometimes I look back at pieces that I wrote, I'm not telling my age, back in, say, 1969, 1970, and I look back now and say, did I write that? You know? And now I feel funny, you know? I was like, wow, that's where I was at that time, you know? And I was thinking, I didn't write that. Somebody else wrote that, you know? But it's a different, I was at a different stage. And then I think, well, maybe I'll go back and change it. But then I feel no, because it belongs to that time.
It belongs to that time, exactly.
Do you feel like wasting time on pieces that you write?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I've written pieces maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and I find myself sometimes when I'm out doing something or reading in a program, I'll read some of those pieces. Sometimes you can feel the audience, and you say, yeah, this would be good. You could have written 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. But I'd like to give you another piece telling you what jazz means to me. And I'd like to tell you about the tribute that I wrote for Sarah Vaughan. Okay. I wrote it right after her death. Okay. The divine one, the divine Sarah, Miss Sassy, easy living. If you could see me now, I'd cover the waterfront of the Lord's Prayer with body and soul. Tenderly, she burst out broken-hearted melodies. Don't blame me. Everything I have is yours, lover man. Here's that rainy day. I'll remember April, misty. She is the divine one, the divine Sarah, Miss Sassy, Sarah Vaughan.
She was sassy. I love the music of Sarah Vaughan. You know, as a child, my father and my mom and my uncle, you know, they played a lot of music around the house. So I grew up listening to people like Sarah Vaughan, the Donna Watsons, the Sam Cooke, and the Otis Reddings. And I grew up, I loved Sam Cooke. I loved the music of Sam Cooke and those kind of people. Just beautiful, really. Sarah Vaughan was one of my favorites. Really.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of the old music also because I grew up listening to, not because I was into the music, but my parents, we had to listen to what they listened to also. B.B. King, Albert King, like you said, Otis Redding, all the old greats, Nat King Cole. On Christmas, we weren't listening to a lot of the upbeat tempo, the Jackson 5, the Christmas. All night we were listening to Nat King Cole, Brooke Benton, while we're doing the Christmas tree and whatnot. And now that I'm older and I'm writing, I am so happy that I had a chance to grow up listening to that kind of music.
That's a great experience.
Yes. You don't know until you get older.
That's true. I love the music of Nat King Cole. I mean, nobody, even today, nobody sings like Nat King Cole. I mean, you just forget it.
Yes.
It's most beautiful. You have another piece you'd like to share at this
time? Sure. What you see today, you may not see tomorrow. Today may be very well, but remember, there is tomorrow. Never ever look down on a man. We're all God's children. Pick him up if you can. Don't look down on a man. You may be there one day. Nothing is promised in a land that is destined to disappear someday. Don't look down on a man. He may see your reflection in his eyes. He may be holding your hand someday, picking you up, pulling you toward the sky.
Beautiful, most beautiful.
Thank you.
Where'd you get that inspiration?
I got that inspiration one time. I was seeing some children play. You know how they tease each other? They don't understand if one is handicapped or can't walk or they don't have an arm. They were making fun of the person. And when I wrote it from that incident that I was observing. But when I wrote it, I said, even though it was a children's game, it's something for adults to hear too.
That's part of the innocence of a child. The children sometimes are not sensitive. Children just, I mean, you ask them, they just come out with the truth. I got little nieces and nephews, you know, and you promise them something and you don't deliver, they will remind you.
They will.
I mean, I don't care what you got on your mind, they will remind you. That's, I think, part of the innocence and the beauty of the children sometimes. They do that. And sometimes children are very unkind to each other, sometimes really not really being sensitive to those type of things.
Yeah, when you make a promise to a child, I feel the person should never promise anything to a child unless they know they can keep it.
Even for grown-ups, I always say your word is your bond.
That's right.
That's true. Will there be a book forthcoming from you? I know there will be. This matter when. I'm going to put it this way. When will we see a book forthcoming?
Well, I'll tell you, I have enough material now where I could write 2 books. I am getting material together for a book of poetry for children and just a book of poetry myself. Also, I like to add that because I'm getting a lot of engagements and things to do. If it's okay, I'm looking for a business manager, someone who knows about managing the business and finding things to do. I need that, and I like to leave a number.
Yeah,
a
please.
person can contact me if they're interested or they know someone who's interested.
Please do.
And the number is area code 703-931-5134. That's 703-931-5134 in Alexandria, Virginia. And I'm looking for a business manager and also people in photography. And also I'm looking for additional musicians.
All that is
trying to build up a repertoire because I'm going to be working on this chord poem. And it's a theatrical stage presentation. And I just want to let people know, if you're out there and you're listening, I'm looking for that type of help to make the project a success.
Well, I'm more than sure that there are brothers and sisters out there who can, you know, fulfill that. Because, you know, we have all kinds of talented people in our community. Let's talk about the time that we met. We know, I mean, we go back a long, we go back a long ways.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I think about it, it was something else. I was out promoting my work.
That's right. Actually, I had gotten here. I came to this area in 1981 to go to graduate school at Bowie State College. And 82, I met Danny. I was living in Laurel, Maryland, and somebody knocks on the door and says, "Would you like to buy a poem?"
Okay.
And that's how I met Danny, and he had a lot of his poems with him in his car, and from then we exchanged poems. At first I started out buying his poetry, but then we started exchanging poetry.
I was doing door to door. Well, I started out because, you know, I used to come around with little poems in the frame, you know, nothing really elaborate like a book or anything. But I was interested in the writing. I mean, it was just in me, and I wanted to share it with the community. And I was broke. I wasn't working. So that's another reason. And I would buy my poems and get them printed and get them in a nice little frame. And I'd go to door to door in the community and share the work with people. And I got to meet a lot of people who are still supporters and friends of mine today because of that. And I used to do that. Sometimes I would feel embarrassed because you get to meet, there would be a confidence in you as a writer because you'd meet all kinds of people. Some people were very receptive. Some people would close the door in your face, and other people would make fun of you, saying you're crazy and all that. But through it all, it's good because it helped to build character.
And look where the perseverance got you today. I mean, you used to go door to door selling your poetry, and now you have a book.
Yeah, well, that's true.
You have a book
now. It's a beautiful thing.
You're giving me a real inspiration.
Well, I've gotten inspiration from you too, but it's been very beautiful. But it's hard work. It's really hard work, you know, to be able to do that. Also, you have a rap poem that you like to do.
Yes.
In closing.
I wrote this rap poem because I wanted to get, I'm not a rap artist, but I wanted to get a message about drugs across to the young people and something that the older people could understand too, because believe me, there's a lot of young and old people that are strongly addicted to drugs. I used to perform this with my conga player and my trumpet player, but they weren't able to join me today, so I just like to give you the words to it. And it goes, now many of y'all been having a ball on a thing they call Rhapsody Life, whose claim fame those silly names and rap to the early life. Well, I'm here to rap about education because it's the key to a better relation with your sisters and brothers and your friends too. Think about it. Why don't you stop fooling yourself with hip-hop rap? Talk to the little sisters when you see them standing on the street corners, smoking cigarettes, making wine, staying out till night time, and with peace, lovely's the way to be. Strong mind all the time. Your pat on the ask for a dime. Clear your head, sisters and brothers. Drugs is the way to destroy each other. Think about it. Why don't you just think about it? Why don't you? Leading up to destruction of self, not knowing just how to ask for help. Playing the streets, thinking this game, make one wrong move, and then it's a strategy change. Never for better, mostly for worse, because drugs in the streets, they never work. They never work. They never work. Drugs in the streets, they never work. Think about it. Why don't you just think about it? Why don't you?
I'm thinking about it. It's most beautiful. Most beautiful.